two faults are tearing New Zealand apart, and one just moved under a supervolcano. Boof. That's the headline of today. And we've just talked about New Zealand because there were these weird earthquakes lining up basically from Tonga, where we recently had a 7.6 megathrust earthquake, coming down towards New Zealand with the South and the North Island, where we have local faults going underneath there, dangerous faults. So what the heck is going on there, guys? We need to look into this, because now we do have a strong earthquake right on the island. New Zealand, beautiful, absolutely beautiful. It's a little bit tough to fly there because there's lots of turbulences in the planes when you have to fly that route, but it's definitely worth it, guys. But everything comes with a price. So the fault lines, it is being pulled apart right now as you're watching this. I want to make that clear. So just a few hours ago, the ground in New Zealand has proven that a magnitude 5.7 earthquake fired off directly underneath the North Island, basically in the one place on Earth that you really do not want to see an earthquake. You don't. Right between a lake that is actually, here comes a supervolcano, and 3 other active volcanoes are lined up next to it. Great. What a setting. So here's what stopped me cold when I saw that. So this quake did not happen alone. So look at this line of dots. In the last 7 days, this same boundary north of New Zealand has fired off a magnitude 6, 2 more mid-5 earthquakes, and basically a whole string of smaller shocks, all lined up along one red scar in the ocean, the Kermadec Trench. Dangerous, dangerous subduction zone. So we've got 2 completely different faults doing basically 2 completely different things at the same time. So one is tearing the North Island open from the inside. One is grinding away offshore. And by the end of this video, when I'm done with this, you're going to understand exactly which one can hurt people, which one can't, and then really my honest answer to the question that everyone's asking right now is the big one coming right now. And I've got viewers from New Zealand. Hi to you guys. Please stay safe. And I know you said in the comments, well, we're afraid of it. We're aware of it, but we're afraid. Yeah, as we all are, that who we are living along the Pacific Ring of Fire with these dangerous subduction zones, right? I'm sitting on the Cascadia Fault, magnitude 9 plus with 100 feet tsunami within 8 to 15 minutes. So that's also not very reassuring. So I feel with you guys. So I'm going to show you that the latest data screen by screen. And there's one number in the USGS report that just came out, the depth, that is kind of changing the entire story of this event here. So stick with me. Let's start with what we know for certain that is coming straight from the USGS, magnitude 5.7. This is a strong, sharp earthquake. It's not catastrophic, but it's absolutely enough to throw you off your feet if you're close. We've just seen earthquakes in other countries, of course, that have weaker codes and weaker buildings than New Zealand, but buildings were collapsing, people were lost and injured. And so this is not good. The location is basically 49 kilometers, that's roughly 30 miles, west of Turangi on New Zealand's North Island. So basically, that's the southern shore of Lake Taupō, right by the Tongariro volcanoes. We know, Pacific Ring of Fire, most of the big earthquakes and volcanic eruptions are happening there. This comes with the geologic territory. Depth, roughly 6 miles, 10 kilometers. Hold on to that number. It's a huge part of the story, and I'll show you why in just a minute. But I want to show you the shake map before that. The intensity is 7. That's also very, very important. That matters a lot because 7 Guys, 7, that means strong shaking. So this is the level where plaster cracks, chimneys break, furniture walks across the room. And people in Turangi and Taupo felt this hard. If you're there, if you're a viewer, hey, please share this with us. Let us know in the comments. Did you feel it? How did you feel it? Did it come with a roar? Did it make noise? What happened before or after? Tell us what you experienced. So, but I want to tell you the first twist, because there's more, and that's not good news, unfortunately. The USGS impact estimate came back green. Lowest level, good. Low expected damage, also good. Low casualty risk, good. Strong shaking, but a small town, modern building codes, and not enough energy to do serious structural harm. So, of course, we're still asking, if it shook that hard, why is the forecast still green? 2 words, the depth and the size. So, that is where it gets a little bit more, it gets a lot more interesting, because where this earthquake happens or happened tells us something that the magnitude alone cannot tell us and does not tell us. Taupo volcanic zone, Lake Taupō, Tongariro, Ruapehu, these rift faults. Let's have a look at that. So here's the thing, that most of the people that cover this they're going to get it wrong. Probably not the AI slop channels that copy my transcript and then just put AI voice over it and recreate my videos. Right now, I've discovered over 100 channels that do that. It's an epidemic. So guys, seriously, if someone never shows his face, and I don't mean a face on a thumbnail, a live video on YouTube, there's a live section where this person is live with the same voice and the same face. Do not watch these channels, I tell you, do not. It's AI slop, it's bot farms, it's 500 people sitting there copying real creators and then sensationalizing it and adding BS. I needed to say that because this is a real problem on YouTube right now. I even have my own channels that recreate me with AI, so me as an avatar speaking. It's ridiculous, really. So where was I? Blondie has lost what I was just talking about, Lake Taupō, right? The fault lines that are there. This is something very important that we need to look at right now, because the epicenter sits right inside there in the Taupo rift. That is part of the Taupo volcanic zone. So rifts, faults, volcanic zone, volcanoes. Guys, this is one of the most active continental rifts on the planet, on the entire planet. So basically, the entire central North Island is stretching like pizza dough pulling apart. Yeah, I love to see that because I love pizza, but I love it thin. And when I see this, I'm like, yeah, this is going to be good. So the dough is being pulled in 2 directions, right? Now I'm getting hungry. I don't know about you. So as this stretches, the crust thins, but it also cracks. And basically blocks of ground, they drop straight down along what in geology we call that normal faults. But don't be fooled by the word normal. That doesn't mean normal, nothing to see here. How do we know what happened here? And this is interesting because we have the beach ball, the moment tensor. It literally tells us what happened here. So let's have a look at that beach ball. I pulled the actual numbers. So the rake values are negative. I'm giving you the numbers and I'll explain it. It's minus 127 and minus 41 degrees. So in plain English, negative rake means extension. So the ground pulled apart, pizza's getting ready, and then it dropped. So this is a textbook rift earthquake. That's how it's called. And then we have another number, 92% double couple. This means this is a clean fault slip. So this is not magma. This is what this means. This is not volcanic. It's not an explosion. If you have a big pyroclastic explosion like White Island or something like this, or a magmatic volcanic eruption, that creates a tremor. This was not it. This was a real earthquake. So it's basically just the North Island is basically tearing a little wider. But it gets wild. Guys, this is the wild part. Why is it tearing in the first place? Because now we're getting to what I was reporting last. You remember the lined up earthquakes, the Kermadec Trench. Because the same Kermadec system offshore is dragging on it. So Pacific plate is sinking under New Zealand. The back edge of the plate that is above gets stretched. So the whole zone is being rifted apart at up to 15 millimeters a year. Is that an inch? Something like that. And the southern tip of that spreading is basically propagating straight into the North Island. So now the trench offshore and the rip under the volcano are two ends of the same machine. That's why now we're getting a broader picture. My last video and this video, the same machine. Keep that in mind for what I'm telling you next. So now you know what broke today, and you know why. But I still haven't answered the scary part. Listen, it's coming. The volcano. So let's talk about the elephant. Or should I say the supervolcano? Let's have a look at Lake Taupō from above. And let's have a look at that caldera outline. Let's address it head on, because I know it's what you're thinking. This quake hit right next to Lake Taupō. And Lake Taupō is not a normal lake. It's not. It's the water-filled crater of a supervolcano. Did you know that? Did you know New Zealand and a supervolcano? It's one that produced one of the most violent eruptions on Earth in the last 5,000 years. 5,000 years, that's not long. That's not long, geologically speaking. And it had a generally apocalyptic super eruption 26,000 years ago. That's also not that long ago. So a magnitude 5.7 right there for you guys that live on New Zealand. Should you panic? Question mark. That's probably in your head right now. Well, I'll give you the answer. No. At least not right now. No. Here's the honest reason why. I'm not going to hand wave it. There are two totally different ways to shake the ground near a volcano. We know that if you're viewers from this channel. If you're new here, hey, subscribe, join our group. So listen, one, of course, makes sense. A volcano, that's magma, right? Physically, it's forcing its way up. It's causing tremors. And that has a fingerprint, right? If magma's rising, we have swarms of tiny quakes, harmonic tremor, and a signal that looks really messy and volcanic. So the other is a plain tectonic fault snapping because the crust is being stretched. So this one here, remember the number, 92% double couple. That's the signature of rock breaking on a fault line, clean and sharp. Definitely not magma climbing. So if this were the volcano waking up, the beach ball and the seismograms would look completely different. So they don't. So take a deep breath. You're not going to have a volcanic explosion that's going to blow up New Zealand. So that's already good, right? But, sorry guys, this is me. I have to tell you the but version. it's the part that keeps it honest, right? And probably also interesting for you guys, maybe not that much interesting if you live there. In a rift like this, faulting and volcanism are unfortunately cousins. What do I mean with that? So the same stretching that snaps these faults is unfortunately, and think about Iceland, the same stretching that over thousands of years lets magma rise. Makes sense. It stretches. It's easier for something to come to the surface. This is happening to Iceland. So this single quake is not a volcanic alarm, but it is a live reminder, I would call it, that this region is absolutely geologically loaded. Both things are true. And that tension that's happening there, this is why we need to watch this so closely, because there's a lot of danger in there. All right, now we've discussed the fault under the island, but now let's get back to that chain of dots, earthquakes offshore, because that is a different fault entirely. And it's the one with the real great muscle, the engine, the Kermadec Trench. So look at this line again. This is not random. Every one of these earthquakes basically hugs the same scar, this red line. This red line shows the subduction zone. You also see the dark shadows on the ocean floor, right? That's the subduction zone, Kermadec Trench. And just in the past week, July 21st, magnitude 5.6, Kermadec Islands region, July 22nd, magnitude 5.0, then another same zone, July 17th, July 20th, magnitude 5.2, 5.0, just south of the Kermadecs. July 24th today, magnitude 4.9, southwest of Pangai, up in Tonga. A whole boundary lit up like a string of Christmas lights over the period of 1 week. But even if we go longer than 1 week, we see it. Pacific plate is diving underneath the Australian plate. So what is that red line? What is it? It's the Pacific plate that is diving down underneath the Australian plate, that subduction zone. And this one, guys, this is a monster. It really is. So the plates converge at 60 millimeters, 6 centimeters a year at the southern end, ramping up to 90 millimeters, 9 centimeters. That's around 3.5 inches every year, up towards Tonga. So that makes it one of the fastest and most powerful subduction zones anywhere on Earth. It's crazy. Everyone talks about Cascadia or Japan. So, and this thing is delivering, unfortunately. Since 1900, the wider New Zealand plate boundary has produced 15 magnitude 7.5 or greater earthquakes. So this year alone, the Kermadec segment threw a magnitude 6 back in February, maybe you remember. And it has been rumbling in the 5s for a month now. So here is tension in this whole story. So that Turangi one, that quake that was actually shaking people, that's the small one. The faults that can produce the true monster, a magnitude 8, tsunami. These are the ones offshore that almost nobody felt. So the danger and the shaking are not in the same place, and that's the trap that every headline falls into. Which brings us to the question you had, why you probably clicked this video. Turangi Rift, Kermadec Trench, and now a third one, the Alpine Fault and the Hikurangi Fault. Very, very important. Let me give you the straight answer, but in layers, because anyone who gives you a simple yes or no is selling something, in my opinion. So is today's magnitude 5.7 a foreshock? That's an important question. Almost certainly not the start of something bigger. The overwhelming majority of quakes, thankfully, that have this size are standalone events or the main shock of their own little sequence. Yes, expect aftershocks in the 4s around Turangi. Over the coming days, I would say that's normal. That's the rift settling, rearranging the stress. But second, is the Kermadec swarm building up to something? That is a little bit more uncomfortable, I would say. That trench, I have to tell you, is always like this. So a week with 4 or 5 magnitude 5s along the Kermadec Trench is not a warning sign. It's a normal Tuesday, how we like to say this. So this boundary moves so fast, actually, so that it's essentially never quiet. So this is nothing that alarms us right now. So it can be both, right? It's either reassuring or terrifying, depending how you want to look at it, right? Because it's always active and can go into the stage where it produces a bigger one. This doesn't mean it's releasing stress constantly, so the risk for a bigger one is getting lower. But third, and that actually matters a lot for New Zealand, the answer to that question, the real threat, and I tell you this honestly, was never that earthquake underneath the volcano or the dots that are offshore. It is 2 faults that I haven't circled yet, but they're very important. And you might have wondered, why is she not mentioning that? I am. The Hikurangi subduction zone. It's running just off the east coast of the North Island. So that is New Zealand's own megathrust, capable of a magnitude 8+ earthquake and a tsunami that would reach the coast in minutes. Boof, there it is. And then the Alpine Fault that everyone probably knows, that is slicing through the South Island. So it ruptures in a magnitude 8 roughly every 300 years. So not nice, I have to say. So its last major break was around 170 years ago on the plate boundary, and strain has been quietly loading it ever since. So right now, the scientists put the odds of a major Alpine Fault rupture in the next 50 years among the highest of any fault on Earth. So that is crazy. That's not good, right? So be prepared if you live in that area, I would say. So, and yeah, the last question that I want to answer is the big one coming? For New Zealand, over a human lifetime, let's look at that. Yes, eventually, I'm sorry to tell you, it generally is. I'm sorry that I have to say it that way. And not because of this magnitude 5.7, also not because of the earthquake swarm that we're seeing this week, but because of the plate boundary that New Zealand unfortunately sits on top of. It's built to produce them. It just does, right? It's not trying to make you afraid if you live there. It's just, that's it. That's a fact, right? And weirdly, it is weird. That's also why New Zealand is one of the safest places if you live on top of a fault line. And that sounds really strange because they know it. They do, which is good. If you don't know it, you have a problem if it ruptures. So New Zealand has built for it. So, and they study it harder than almost anyone. So they are well prepared, but that doesn't mean that there is no risk, right? That's the problem. But they're one of the few countries that are really well prepared. Japan is well prepared. The West Coast, for the Cascadia big one, forget about it. Many people don't even know about it. So building codes, vulnerable buildings in downtown Vancouver in Canada, there's lots of towers that will collapse. They even have made maps that tell you, oh, where you live, it's going to collapse. You won't be able to run out, which is kind of shocking. But don't think that buildings like this don't exist in Seattle or Portland. And San Andreas Fault, California, same thing. So guys, let's bring it home. 1 week in New Zealand, 2 faults are tearing the country in 2 directions at once. Earthquake under a supervolcano that isn't the volcano doing it. We have a big one that is real, just not today. So I hope you like this. And guys, something weird is going on. You have to see this, trust me. Have a look at this video and I see you in a second. It's absolutely mind-blowing. So thanks for watching.